Joe, we say in the state of Oklahoma, as it was announced today, that John Mateer broke his thumb on his throwing hand in the first quarter versus Auburn. Absolutely devastating news for the Sooners. I hate this because John Mateer is a great player. And you don't want to see great players on any team ever go down. But Joey's got to have surgery, and Brent Venables went to the podium today and said, listen, this was not only the best thing for a short-term future, but for his long-term future in college football. Your thoughts on the John Mateer news and him possibly missing up to a month, if not more?
Well, first of all, this is pretty nuts because Mateer was a guy who was considered very favorably in the Heisman conversation. And as you mentioned earlier on FanDuel now, Mendoza is at the top and Dante Moore, as well as Jeremiah Smith, are the top three names on FanDuel. So this completely changes the landscape for the Heisman. You lose him for multiple weeks. That is going to take a lot out of it. If he played really well against Texas, that's ammo for the national landscape to completely rally around him. Blake, my first thought with this, though, on the Oklahoma specific angle, we're about to find out how good Oklahoma really is. We're going to find out how legit this team is because a lot of their offensive line inconsistencies that we have brought up as a concern, it was mitigated by the fact that he was quite literally the best improviser in college football. It was on the same level how Caleb Williams, when he won the Heisman, that USC offensive line was not very good. But he made that offensive line statistically look better than it was because he was so freaking good at evading pressure. I know that having Michael Hawkins Jr. step in and him having played last year makes this transition a little bit easier. You're not throwing in some random kid and hoping that it works out. He's played. But Blake, after the bye week in Kent State, if he's out for the 3 weeks, maybe 4 that is projected for this, Texas and South Carolina are those next 2 games. And if the offensive line plays bad against that Texas O-line or D-line and that South Carolina D-line, it could be some pretty tough sledding for the offense.
It could. Now, again, I think that they can clearly win. I would assume for them to win against Kent State on Saturday, or excuse me, they're on a bye week. But coming into Kent State, but he's having surgery tomorrow. So, look, they said it could be late October from what Pete Thamel reported. Hypothetically speaking, let's just say it's late October, okay? You have Texas in the Red River Shootout. It's the only thing that I'm going to call it. Then you go to South Carolina, which then puts you in a situation where you're going up against Ole Miss. Joe, you got to go 2-1. You got to go 2-1. You can't – look, this is very unfortunate, but quite honestly, the people who have the best news today is the state of Texas, the University of Texas. By the way, sidebar, how many backups are they going to face? Because there's a strong chance they don't see Lagway again, and there's a strong chance clearly that they're not going to face off against John Mateer. Hawkins, it's going to be interesting because I think he can do some really good things, but he's thrown into a situation where he's not going to have a good run game. John Mateer was that run game, and now he's got to become that. Again, let's see how this starts playing out. And you're on a bye week, and maybe he can come back by Texas. Who knows what actually happens here? I mean, timetables are just in and of themselves goofy sometimes when you have these type of surgeries. Like I remember Tua having ankle surgery and people saying he wouldn't play against LSU in 2019, and all of a sudden he had a tightrope surgery and he was back out there. So we'll see. But this is devastating for the entire sport. And that's the thing that I think, screw Oklahoma's record or what they will go, screw anything about what it means for the Heisman or playoff. This sucks because he's been on 2 big stages against Auburn and against Michigan, and quite frankly, led their offense down in critical moments to win football games. And by the way, what an outright dog John Mateer is for breaking his thumb in the first quarter and still playing on his throwing hand.
Well, yeah, I mean, seriously, that's actually a really good point of how
I take him with the number 1 pick because of that shit. When you have that high leverage of a situation and you break your thumb and you want Joe, you know exactly what happened. He probably got shot up at halftime, numbed the pain, played through it, and the sumbitch swole up when the game was over. And that Joe, it doesn't matter. When he comes back, that entire locker room is going to be behind him.
Yeah.
That sends you on another. That builds culture. Unfortunately, he's got to be out for it. What a dog! What an outright dog John Mateer is.
I just wonder, and I agree with all that stuff. I know it's perceived by Oklahoma fans that we hate the team, we hate him. Like,
no, we don't hate it. It's just when we say you're going 6-6 and you go 6-6, you can't say that we hate you.
Yeah, right. And we've been a little wary of some of the weaknesses that you've had. And I think that now when you have a guy who was so good that was able to mitigate those issues and outperform them and perform well despite of them, and then also the battle through the injury that you talked about, I wonder how this team will look when they don't have him.
Yeah.
When he comes back is the biggest obvious question mark with this entire thing, because is the 3 weeks that was floated out there, are those a real 3 weeks? Is it a situation where you have a guy who you're trying to mislead your opponents? You're trying to make it seem like we could get him back. It's kind of like with Cam Rising.
Well, he's going to be questionable in that SEC report for Texas.
Right. It's kind of like with Cam Rising and how they did that every single week. There's no injury reports or there are injury reports now. There's no injury reserve like there is in the NFL. You don't have to. You're not required to put someone on the IR or anything. You can play that stupid game of every single week saying he might come back, he's not playing right before kickoff.
Yeah,
this could be worse than it's being led on.
Ask Lane Kiffin.
Yeah, seriously.
He played Austin Simmons one snap in both games because he put him as questionable. And he's going to get away with it. So just a heads up. Joe, listen, I still think that they can beat Texas even with this. Because Texas, listen, if you're going to struggle with UTEP, and you can't score on UTEP, I have a team that just came off of 10 sacks. So that game is still intriguing. Listen, John Mateer played. I'm taking Texas. I'm taking Oklahoma. I'm not taking Texas. Texas has shown me nothing, absolutely nothing offensively that gives me confidence in them. I still think that they can go into that game and make it reasonable. And Joe, what Texas offense shows up in a couple of weeks? We'll figure all that out and talk about it when it's time. Right. But the bottom line is that, listen, if you're Oklahoma or you're an Oklahoma fan, Joe, the bottom line remains this defense has got to step up more. R. Mason Thomas, what you did in the second half, you got to do it for the next month, brother, unfortunately. I'll say this, though. I don't think Hawkins was a bad player. I think he did some really good things last year. He's electric with his legs. He's got an electric arm. He can make some serious throws, so I don't think they're incompetent. Obviously, you're just losing somebody that we thought could be a Heisman Trophy contender.
Yeah, again, the main theme here is we're going to find out how good they are, because even if they lose to Texas, I think if they go toe-to-toe with Texas, that to me ends up being some proof that they're going to outperform the issues and that they're better than we thought that they were coming into the year.
Well, listen, last thing I'd say, you technically are in Dallas, okay, for the Texas game. We all know that.
Yep.
Joe, Oklahoma fans, you better be ready for this. They're going to snip at this in the comments. You're going to Columbia in Cocktober.
Yeah, I forgot it's Cocktober.
Brother, all right. Do me a favor, Oklahoma fans. Go ask everybody in the SEC not named South Carolina what happens in the month of October when you go on the road to South Carolina at night.
That's a fact.
Shit. Ask Hendon Hooker. Ask Tennessee.
Seriously.
So, shit's getting spicy. I did. Hold on. Let me just say this. I talked to a coordinator in the SEC today. They play Oklahoma this year. And he goes, I wish it was against us. Why? Come on. They just, they're kind of making a joke there, but it is what it is. All right.